How many times have you checked your phone today? And how many times did your heart sink when you saw nothing from them? Let me ask you something else. How long have you been living in this space? Waiting, hoping, wondering if today is the day they finally reach out? A week? A month? Maybe longer? Here's the painful truth nobody wants to tell you. The longer you wait, the more you lose yourself. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. But before I do, I need you to understand something so important. If you're watching this video, you're probably not okay. You've been carrying a weight that nobody else can see. You're exhausted from pretending you're fine when inside. You're breaking apart piece by piece. You keep telling yourself to be patient. You keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. You keep waiting for them to come back because somewhere deep inside, you still believe they will. But what if I told you that waiting is the very thing that's destroying you? What if I told you that the longer you hold on to someone who has already let go, the further you drift away from the person you were meant to become? This isn't about them anymore. This is about you. And today, I'm going to give you the clarity you've been searching for. I'm going to help you understand something that will change everything for you. So stay with me until the very end, because what I'm about to share with you is the truth that most people never hear. And once you understand it, you will finally be able to breathe again. You will finally be able to close this chapter and open a new one. Not because the pain disappears overnight, but because you will finally know what you need to do to save yourself. Here's what I want you to realize. People who truly love you don't make you guess. They don't leave you in silence. They don't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. Real love shows up. It stays, it fights. And if you've been watching this video, you already know that the person you're waiting for hasn't been showing up for you. Not really. Not consistently. And that's not your fault. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe they're just scared. Maybe they need time. Maybe they're working through something and they'll come back when they're ready. And maybe you keep replaying the good moments in your head, the moments when they were present, when they made you feel special, when you thought this was it. Those moments were real. I won't take that away from you. But here's what you need to hear. The person you fell in love with, the one who made you feel seen and heard, that version of them exists. But the version of them that can actually stay and show up consistently, that version doesn't exist. Not because they don't want it, but because they don't know how. And that's where this video is going to change everything for you. Because I'm going to show you exactly what an avoidant person does when they are truly done. Not confused, not processing, done. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. You won't keep holding on to false hope anymore. You'll finally have permission to let go and move forward. I'm going to break it down for you in a way that hits you deep in your chest, because the truth about avoidant people isn't just about relationships. It's about how they protect themselves. It's about the walls they build. It's about the way they disconnect long before they actually leave. And if you've been with someone like this, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. The push and pull, the hot and cold, the moments when they were all in and the moments when they disappeared. That pattern isn't love. That's fear wearing love's mask. So here's what I need you to do. Watch the rest of this video with an open heart and an open mind. Don't defend them anymore. Don't make excuses for them. Don't keep holding on to the idea of who you wanted them to be. Instead, give yourself the gift of knowing the truth, because the truth will set you free. The truth will give you back your power, and the truth will help you stop wasting your days on someone who may have already decided you weren't worth staying for. The answer you're looking for is coming, and it's going to hit you hard in the best possible way. Stay right here with me, because what comes next will change how you see everything. If you've been telling yourself that they just need space, that they'll come back when they're ready, that time will fix everything, I need you to hear this clearly. Some silences aren't temporary. Some distances aren't meant to be closed. And the sooner you recognize the difference, the sooner you can stop destroying yourself piece by piece. Here's what most people do wrong. They keep interpreting every silence as a pause. They keep treating every disappearance as a break. They convince themselves that as long as there's no official goodbye, there's still hope. But hope built on silence isn't hope at all. It's a fantasy you're feeding to avoid the pain of reality. Let's talk about what actually happens when an avoidant person decides to leave. It doesn't look like a dramatic ending. It doesn't come with an explanation or a proper conversation. It comes quietly, slowly, so slowly that by the time you realize what's happening, you've already lost them without ever really seeing them go. They pull away 1 inch at a time. They stop reaching out. They stop finishing sentences. They stop showing up in the little ways that used to make you feel seen. And then one day, you look around and realize the person you love is still there, but the connection that held you together is already gone. That's the warning nobody talks about. It's not the big moments that tell you it's over. It's the small ones. The accumulation of small absences that add up to a massive emptiness inside you. And if you've been experiencing this, you already know exactly what I'm describing. You feel it in your chest. You've been feeling it for a while now. The problem is that you've been making excuses. You've been telling yourself that everyone's relationship goes through rough patches, that people need space, that you're being too sensitive or too demanding, and maybe those thoughts have been keeping you afloat. But they're also keeping you stuck. Because every time you make an excuse for them, you give them permission to stay away. And you give yourself permission to keep waiting for something that may never come. Here's something you need to understand about human psychology. When we invest ourselves in someone, we don't want to believe that investment was wasted, so we hold on tighter. We try harder. We convince ourselves that if we just do a little more, be a little better, love a little harder, they'll come back to us. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, and it's one of the most powerful forces keeping people trapped in situations that are no longer serving them. The more you give, the more you want to give, not because it's working, but because you can't bear the thought of everything you've already given being for nothing. But here's the truth that nobody wants to accept. The time you've spent waiting isn't wasted. The love you've given isn't lost. It doesn't disappear just because they couldn't receive it, but the moment you decide to stop waiting, that's when everything changes. Not because the pain goes away, but because you stop feeding energy into something that's already dead. I'm not telling you to stop caring. I'm not telling you to pretend you don't love them. I'm telling you that love without action is just a feeling. And feelings can't sustain a relationship on their own. Someone has to show up. Someone has to choose to stay. And if you're the only one making that choice, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a holding pattern, and holding patterns don't lead anywhere except exhaustion. So here's what I need you to ask yourself right now. What are you really waiting for? Are you waiting for them to change? Are you waiting for an explanation? Are you waiting for them to suddenly realize what they've lost? Because let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. People don't change until they want to change, and people don't come back until they decide they want to come back. You cannot force that. You cannot rush it. You cannot love them hard enough to make it happen. The warning I'm giving you today isn't meant to break you, it's meant to wake you up, because you've been asleep for a while now. You've been living in a dream where you think you can control the outcome by hoping hard enough, but hope without action is just denial with a prettier name. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal next is the sign you've been ignoring. And once you see it clearly, you won't be able to unsee it. You've been carrying this alone for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to breathe without it weighing you down. The weight has become a part of you. It sits in your chest every single morning when you wake up, and every single night when you try to fall asleep. You don't talk about it because nobody around you would understand. They see you functioning. They see you showing up for work, for life, for other people. They have no idea that inside you're barely holding yourself together. And the hardest part isn't the loneliness. It's the questions that never stop circling in your mind. What did I do wrong? Where did I lose them? Was it something I said? Was it something I didn't say? Could I have done something differently and changed the entire outcome? These questions don't give you peace. They eat at you from the inside out. You replay conversations from months ago trying to find the exact moment things shifted. You analyze their words. You study their tone. You go back again and again to that one conversation that haunts you, wondering if you could just rewind and respond differently, maybe they would still be here. This is the part nobody talks about. The way self-blame slowly eats away at your confidence until you barely recognize yourself anymore. You used to feel sure of who you were. You used to walk through the world knowing your value, knowing what you brought to the table. But after months of being left with no explanation, you've started to doubt everything. You question your worth. You question your decisions. You question whether you were ever good enough for them in the first place. Here's the dangerous thing about self-blame. It feels like control. When you believe the problem was something you did, you feel like you could fix it. You feel like if you just figure out what you did wrong, you can reverse it. But this is an illusion. It's your mind creating a story that keeps you attached to the possibility of them coming back. And as long as you're attached to that possibility, you don't have to face the painful truth that they chose to leave. But what if I told you that your searching isn't finding answers because there aren't any? What if I told you that the reason you can't figure out what you did wrong is because the ending had nothing to do with your worth? What if the truth is that you were perfect exactly as you are and they still couldn't stay? The hardest psychological trap to escape is the one where you believe your pain is your fault. You take their silence and turn it into evidence that you failed somehow. You take their distance and use it as proof that you weren't enough. But this interpretation is killing you softly. It's keeping you locked in a cycle where you replay the past endlessly, torture yourself with could-have-beens, and never move forward into a future where you could actually be happy again. Think about this for a moment. When someone truly loves you and wants to be with you, do they disappear without a word? Do they leave you guessing for weeks or months while you slowly fall apart? No. They communicate. They show up. They make an effort. And if they can't be present, they at least give you the respect of an explanation. That's what decent people do. That's what people who genuinely care about you do. So when someone treats you like you're not worth a conversation, that's not a mystery to solve. That's an answer you've already received. They don't want to be with you anymore. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop torturing yourself with questions that have no answers. I'm not saying this to be harsh with you. I'm saying this because I know exactly what you're going through. I've seen how self-blame destroys people from the inside. It makes you small. It makes you forget who you were before this pain entered your life. And the longer you stay in that mindset, the harder it becomes to remember your own value. The real question isn't what you did wrong. The real question is why you're still blaming yourself for someone else's choice. Why you're still giving away your peace to a person who decided you weren't worth their presence. Why you're still holding on to a story that only exists in your head while your actual life passes you by. This is the pain point you've been avoiding, not the loss of them, the loss of yourself in the process of trying to hold on to them. And that's what we need to fix next. Now that we've uncovered the pain you've been carrying, let's understand the person who caused it, not to justify them, not to defend them, but to give you the clarity you need to finally move forward without confusion clouding your judgment. An avoidant person operates from a completely different emotional framework than most people. While you were feeling deeply connected, they were quietly building walls. While you were growing more attached, they were preparing to leave. This isn't because they don't experience love the same way you do. They do. But their relationship with connection is deeply tangled with something else, something that drives their behavior behind the scenes without them even fully understanding it themselves. When someone has an avoidant attachment style, intimacy feels like a threat. The closer they get to someone, the more their nervous system signals danger. It's not a choice they're making consciously. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism that activates automatically whenever they start feeling emotionally dependent on another person. The moment they sense that dependency growing, their instinct kicks in and tells them to pull back, create distance, reestablish control, protect themselves from the vulnerability they fear so deeply. That's why the pattern always looks the same. They pursue you in the beginning with genuine excitement and interest. You feel wanted, you feel chosen, and then somewhere along the way, usually right when you're starting to feel truly secure with them, the shift happens. They start pulling away. They stop being as responsive. They create distance that makes no sense given how close you were just weeks before. You reach out and they retreat further. You express concern and they make it sound like you're overreacting. You try to talk about what changed and they give you nothing to work with. Here's what you need to understand. They're not pulling away because they stopped loving you. They're pulling away because feeling close to you started feeling dangerous. And when emotional safety feels like a threat, the only response their system knows is to run. This is where most people get completely stuck. They keep trying to get through to the avoidant partner by being more understanding, more patient, more accommodating. They shrink themselves down to make the other person comfortable. They abandon their own needs in hopes that if they just remove enough pressure, the avoidant person will come back to them. But this strategy never works. It only teaches the avoidant person that when they pull away far enough, you'll still be there waiting. And if they know you'll always be there, they have no reason to change. The psychology behind this is fascinating and deeply sad at the same time. Avoidant people learned somewhere along the way that depending on others leads to disappointment, Maybe they grew up in an environment where their emotional needs weren't met. Maybe they learned that expressing vulnerability got them hurt. Maybe they watched their parents maintain distance in marriage and learned that love means keeping one foot out the door at all times. Whatever the source, they developed a core belief that closeness is a trap, and they will protect that belief with everything they have, even if it means losing someone they genuinely care about. Now, here's what this means for you. When an avoidant person leaves, they're not leaving because you're flawed. They're leaving because your closeness activated their deepest fears. The more you love them, the more afraid they became. This isn't your failure. This is their limitation, and it's a limitation they may never overcome unless they do serious inner work on themselves, work that has nothing to do with you. So stop trying to figure out what you could have done differently. There was nothing you could have done. You were loving someone whose emotional architecture makes it almost impossible for them to stay. You were pouring yourself into a vessel with a hole in it, and no amount of love was ever going to fill it because the hole isn't yours to fix. Understanding this isn't about blaming them either. It's about releasing yourself from a puzzle you were never meant to solve. You don't need to understand every detail of their psychology to know one simple truth. They weren't capable of being what you needed. And you deserve someone who is. Stay with me because in the next section, I'm going to show you the exact sign that tells you they're not just pulling away. They're done.